So here's the deal. I've got this house, and it's mine, all mine. No HOA, no covenants, just a sweet little patch of private land I snapped up 10 years ago on the ragged edge of a suburban nightmare called Pinewood Estates. The day I moved in, I grabbed a roller, cracked open a can of forest green paint, and went full-on Picasso. Not some muted sage or HOA-approved taupe. Nah, this is a loud, proud green, the kind that punches you in the face like a pissed-off leprechaun. It's my tribute to the woods I grew up in back when life was climbing pines and kicking dirt instead of dodging cul-de-sacs and nosy neighbors with too much time on their hands. I love it. Always have. So you can imagine the look on my face when I stroll out to my mailbox one Saturday morning, coffee in one hand, zero shits in the other, and yank out a fancy envelope with a Pinewood HOA logo stamped on it like a royal decree. I rip it open, expecting maybe a welcome note or a flyer for a bake sale. Nope. It's a letter, typed up all official-like on crisp letterhead, signed by one Karen Whitlock, Vice President. Dear Mr. James Daniels, it starts. Your property's exterior color has been flagged as a violation of Pinewood HOA aesthetic standards. The garish green diminishes the visual harmony and property values of our community. Please repaint your home in an approved neutral tone within 30 days to avoid further action. I read it twice, blink once, then bust out laughing so hard I nearly spray coffee all over my boots. Property value? Visual harmony? I'm not even in their damn HOA. Never signed a thing, never agreed to their beige dictatorship. My deed's cleaner than a preacher's Sunday suit. Private land, no strings, no rules but my own. I'm still chuckling as I trudge back inside, figuring it's gotta be a mistake or some kid's prank. I mean, who the hell writes a letter like that to someone outside their little club? I crumple it into a tight ball, toss it in the trash next to yesterday's pizza box, and settle onto my porch swing to finish my coffee. The sun's climbing, my greenhouse is glowing like a damn emerald, and life's good. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. See, I didn't know it yet, but I just stepped on a hornet's nest named Karen, and she wasn't about to let this slide, not by a long shot. I should have seen the warning signs. I've heard the whispers about Karen Whitlock from the handful of folks around here who don't bow to the HOA's iron fist. Old Man Jenkins, my neighbor to the east, a grizzled vet with a limp and a love for cheap beer, filled me in one night over a couple of Bud Lights in his cluttered garage. She's a real piece of work, he'd said, wiping grease off his hands from futzing with his ancient mower. Blonde, bossy as hell, thinks she's the queen of Pinewood. Fined a guy last year for a birdhouse that clashed with his roof shingles. Guy wasn't even in the HOA, just lived too close for her liking. I'd laughed it off then, picturing some uptight broad with a clipboard and a stick up her ass. Figured she'd stick to terrorizing her own people, the poor sap's dumb enough to sign up for her rules. But now, staring at that crumpled letter in my trash can, I realized Jenkins wasn't exaggerating. This Karen chick's got a hard-on for control, and somehow, my greenhouse just became her next crusade. I lean back on the swing, letting the creak of the rusty chains fill the quiet morning air. My house sits maybe 300 yards from Pinewood's fancy gate, close enough to see their manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, and those pretentious little flags flapping in the breeze, but far enough that I don't have to deal with their crap. It's a simple setup. One story, wraparound porch with chipped white railings, a garage big enough for my beat-up Ford, and a pile of tools I've been meaning to organize. The green paint's weathered a bit over the years, sun's faded it in spots, and there's a scratch or two from when I backed the truck in too fast, but it's still bold as hell, standing out like a neon sign against the sea of beige and white down the road. I picked that color for a reason. It's me, unfiltered. Back in Kentucky where I grew up, the forest was my kingdom. Pine trees stretching to the sky, moss underfoot, the smell of earth after rain. This house? It's my slice of that. A little piece of freedom in a world gone soft. No way some HOA Karen's gonna tell me to paint over it with some soulless shade of gray. I sip my coffee, watching a squirrel dart across my patchy lawn, chasing an acorn like it's the last one on earth. Maybe she'll back off when she figures out I'm not one of her minions. Maybe she'll find some other poor bastard to harass, someone who'll cave and slap a coat of ivory on their life to keep her happy. But deep down, I've got a bad feeling. the kind that sits in your gut like a lump of cold oatmeal. I've dealt with petty tyrants before, overbearing bosses, pencil-pushing bureaucrats, that one cop who ticketed me for parking half an inch over the line, and they don't quit easy. They dig in, double down, and make your life hell until you either break or fight back. I glance at my house, glowing green in the morning sun, and grin. If Karen wants a fight, she's picked the wrong guy. My land, my rules. Bring it on, lady. Trouble doesn't creep up slow like a fog. It kicks the damn door down and demands a beer. 2 days after I trash her letter, I'm out front watering my scraggly shrubs with a hose that's seen better days, when I spot it. A neon orange flyer taped to my front door like a freaking eviction notice. I march over, boots squishing in the damp grass, rip it off and read the bold black print. Notice of violation. Your property's exterior fails to meet Pinewood HOA aesthetic standards. Repaint within 7 days or face a $500 fine. I stare at it, jaw hanging loose, then let out a bark of laughter that echoes off the garage. 7 days? $500? From who? They've got no more claim over me than the stray cat that keeps pissing on my tires. I crumple it into a tight ball, chuck it into the recycling bin next to the driveway, and snap a quick pic with my phone. Call it a hunch. Something tells me this is just the opening shot in Karen's little war. That afternoon, I'm in the kitchen slapping together a turkey sandwich when my phone rings. Unknown number. I pick up expecting some robocall about car warranties. But instead, I get a voice so sweet it could rot your teeth. Good afternoon, Mr. Daniels. This is Karen Whitlock, Vice President of the Pinewood HOA. I'm calling about your little issue with the house color. I lean against the counter, smirking. What issue? She chuckles, all fake and syrupy like a bad infomercial. Oh, you know that green. It's been brought to our attention. Multiple complaints, actually, from concerned residents. It's just not fitting with our community's vibe. If you'd repaint maybe something neutral like taupe or ivory, we'd be happy to let this whole thing slide. I snort loud enough she probably hears it. Lady, my house looks great to me, and last I checked, I don't live in your precious community. A pause, long enough I can hear her breathing through her nose, then a huff. Mr. Daniels, I'd really hate for this to get messy. Cooperation's the neighborly thing to do, don't you think? Neighborly, I say, slapping mustard on my bread. How about you stay the hell off my case? That's pretty neighborly, too. I hang up, grinning as I picture her clutching her designer purse or whatever Karens do when they don't get their way. I hear a faint grind of teeth before the line cuts out, and I shove a bite of sandwich in my mouth, savoring the win. Jenkins swings by later, hauling a bag of mulch for his roses in the bed of his rusted-out Chevy. He spots me on the porch, sets the bag down with a grunt, and limps over. Heard Karen's gunning for you, he says, wiping sweat off his leathery forehead. She's relentless. Fined a guy 2 streets over for a flagpole that disrupted curb appeal. He wasn't in the HOA either, just had the bad luck of being on her radar. I laugh, kicking my boots up on the railing. She's wasting her time with me. He squints at my house, shielding his eyes from the sun. Love that green, by the way. Sticks out like a sore thumb next to their beige bullshit. Thanks, I say. Apparently that's the problem. He shakes his head, spitting into the dirt. Watch yourself, James. She's got a screw loose. Last year she tried to get me to trim my oak tree 'cause the leaves blew into her precious pinewood. Told her to shove it. I grin. Good man. He nods, hefting the mulch back up. Just keep an eye out. She don't play fair. Saturday rolls around, and I'm under my truck in the driveway, swapping out a brake pad that's been squealing like a banshee. Grease is smeared up to my elbows, and I've got a cold beer sweating on the toolbox when I hear gravel crunching. Multiple sets of feet. I slide out, wiping my hands on a rag, and see 3 figures strutting up my path like they're the IRS come to seize my soul. Karen's in the lead, blonde hair teased into a helmet that defies gravity, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose like she's auditioning for a reality show, blazers screaming, I'm in charge. Behind her are 2 flunkies, a scrawny kid with a clipboard who looks like he's never lifted anything heavier than a pencil, and a pimply guy who's barely out of high school, both in matching polo shirts with Pinewood HOA stitched on the chest in tacky gold thread. I grab my coffee mug off the toolbox, beers for after the job's done, step onto the porch, and watch them stop at my gate. Karen clears her throat like she's about to deliver the State of the Union. "Good morning, Mr. Daniels. We're the Pinewood HOA Aesthetic Committee, here to conduct a property evaluation." I sip my coffee, letting the steam curl up. "Evaluation for what?" She flashes a smile so tight it could crack walnuts. "Your exterior. Now that we've identified the violation, we need to document it and ensure compliance." I raise an eyebrow, leaning on the railing. "Compliance with what? I'm not in your HOA." Her smile doesn't budge, but her eyes narrow behind those ridiculous shades. "The HOA has oversight over all properties in this vicinity. It's about maintaining a cohesive community look, something I'm sure you can appreciate." I point to the private property no trespassing sign bolted to my fence, faded but still legible. "Read that. Then tell me who's got oversight here." Karen adjusts her sunglasses, unfazed. Scrawny pipes up, voice cracking like he's mid-puberty. Technically, sir, the HOA sets the tone for the entire area." "Technically," I cut in, voice flat, "you're trespassing. All three of you." Karen folds her arms, blazer creaking like it's about to split. "Mr. Daniels, I don't think you understand how this works. We're trying to be reasonable here." I grin, taking a slow sip. "And I don't think you understand. I don't give a rat's ass. Get off my land." Her face twitches, a glitch in her perfect little world. Pimply mutters something under his breath, scribbling on his clipboard like it's a shield. Karen snaps. "This isn't over," then spins on her heels, 3-inch pumps sinking into the gravel, and marches off with her minions scurrying behind. They whisper like scolded kids, throwing nervous glances back at me as they pile into her Prius parked at the curb. I shake my head, set the mug down, and slide back under the truck. Bunch of clowns. I figure that's the end of it. Big friggin' mistake. That night, I'm sprawled on the couch, half asleep with a rerun of The Office flickering on the TV, Dwight's yelling about bears or something, when my phone pings. Motion alert from the security cams I slapped up after Jenkins' warning. I groan, grab my tablet off the coffee table, and pull up the live feed. Holy hell, there they are. Karen and some lanky dude in a black hoodie, creeping across my lawn at 1:34 a.m. like bargain bin burglars. She's wielding a flashlight like it's a baton, sweeping the beam over my grass. He's hauling a gallon of white paint, the cheap stuff from Home Depot with the label half peeled off. They stop at my west wall, and I watch, jaw on the floor, as Hoodie pops the lid and starts slopping paint over my green siding with a brush that looks like it's been through a wood chipper. He's a disaster. Half the can splashes onto my grass, turning it into a milky mess, and Karen hisses, "Quiet, you moron," loud enough for the cam's mic to catch it clear as day. I sit up, laughing so hard I nearly choke on my own spit. "Are you serious? They're trying to repaint my house in the dead of night?" I hit record, save the footage to my cloud, and zoom in as Karen flails her arms like a pissed-off cheerleader who just dropped her pom-poms. Hoodie trips over his own damn feet, spilling more paint across my flower bed, and Karen unleashes a string of curses. "Shit, damn son of a bitch!" That'd make my old man proud. They manage one sloppy streak, maybe 3 feet wide, before bolting back to her Prius, parked a block away, tires squealing as they peel out. Next morning, I'm out there with my coffee, inspecting the damage. A pathetic white patch drips down my wall, paint pooling in the dirt and turning my petunias into a modern art exhibit. The grass is wrecked. Splotches of white streaked across it like some drunk abstract painter went nuts. I could be pissed, but nah. This is comedy gold. These idiots think they can play ninja and win this? I snap pics from every angle, close-ups of the streak, wide shots of the yard, even a selfie with me grinning next to the mess. I back up the video to my laptop, sip my coffee, and lean against the porch railing. Karen's just lit the fuse on a bomb she can't defuse. Time to blow this thing wide open. I'm expecting more flyers or maybe a snippy email after the midnight paint fiasco, but Karen skips the petty stuff and goes straight for the jugular. Monday morning rolls around, and I'm in the kitchen, flipping bacon, sizzling and popping in the pan, filling the air with that greasy heaven smell, when someone pounds on my door like they're serving a damn warrant. I I kill the stove, grab my spatula like it's a weapon, and peek through the blind. Two guys stand on my porch, decked out in cheap polyester suits that look like they came off a clearance rack at Goodwill. One's a beefy dude with a buzz cut, sweating buckets despite the crisp 60-degree air, his shirt straining at the buttons. The other's a wiry twig of a guy, clutching a notepad like it's his lifeline, shifting from foot to foot like it's about to bolt. They've got badges clipped to their belts, shiny little things that read, City Inspector, in block letters. I swing the door open, spatula in hand, and lean against the frame. Yeah? Buzzcut steps up, chest puffed out like a rooster. James Daniels? That's me, I say, twirling the spatula. Who are you? I'm Inspector Hayes, he says, flashing his badge with a flourish like he's on CSI. This is Inspector Lyle, we're with the city. Your property's in violation of municipal aesthetic codes. You've got 24 hours to agree to repaint your house, or we're issuing a $2,000 fine. I blink, then laugh, right in his face, loud enough the neighbors probably hear it. Aesthetic codes? You're shitting me. Lyle clears his throat, voice wobbling like a kid caught stealing cookies. No, sir. The color of your residence has been deemed disruptive to the neighborhood's visual standards per city ordinance. I tilt my head, grinning. Disruptive? That's a new one. Show me your credentials. Badges don't mean jack without ID. Hayes pats his pockets, smirking like he's got this in the bag. Left it in the truck. Uh-huh, I say, crossing my arms. And your department? Code enforcement? Zoning? Give me something. Lyle fidgets, notepad trembling in his hands. We're contracted through the city. I nod slow, like I'm humoring a toddler. Contracted, huh? Let's see a warrant then. Hayes glares, stepping closer. We don't need one. This is an administrative order, enforceable under city regs. Bullshit, I say, pulling out my phone. I'm recording this. Say cheese, boys. I hit record, aiming the camera at their sweaty faces, and they stiffen up like I just pulled a shotgun. Now let's try this again. Who sent you? Hayes squares his shoulders, voice dropping low. Sir, if you don't comply, we'll escalate this to law enforcement. Escalate away, I say, grinning wide. I'm calling the cops. I dial 911, put it on speaker so they can hear every word. Hey, yeah, I've got two guys on my porch claiming they're city inspectors, threatening me with a $2,000 fine over my house color. No ID, no warrant, nothing. Can you send someone out? Lyle takes a step back, muttering, that's not necessary. Too late, I cut in, wagging the phone. They're on the way. Hayes smirks, but his eyes dart to the road, nervous as hell. Fine, we'll let the police sort this out. I keep the camera rolling, leaning back against the door frame. So Hayes, how long you been an inspector? Those shoes look like they've seen more burger joints than city halls. His scuffed loafers twitch. Lyle's face goes red. I keep going just to mess with them. And you, Lyle? What's with the notepad? Writing my obituary? Hayes growls. Keep talking, smartass. Oh, I will, I say. You're on candid camera. 10 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser rolls up, lights off, but presence loud. Deputy Martinez climbs out. Big guy, ex-Marine, built like a brick wall with a buzz cut to match. He's been patrolling this beat forever, knows every dumbass stunt in the book. He takes one look at the inspectors and sighs deep, like he's already tired of this crap. What's this now? I gesture with the spatula, bacon grease still dripping. These two say I've got 24 hours to repaint my house or pay $2,000. No ID, no paperwork, just a lot of hot air. Martinez turns to Hayes, hand resting casual on his belt. Credentials. Hayes stammers, puffing up again. We're inspectors. ID, Martinez snaps, cutting through the bullshit. Lyle fumbles, hands over a flimsy plastic badge that looks like it came from a cereal box. Martinez squints at it, then snorts loud. This says, Pinewood Security Services. You're not city. You're rent-a-cops. Right on cue, like a damn sitcom. Karen's Prius screeches up the street, tires squealing as she slams to a stop. She hops out, blazer flapping like a cape, sunglasses slipping down her nose as she yells, Deputy, this is a misunderstanding. They're just enforcing. Martinez raises an eyebrow, slow and deliberate. My standards? On whose authority? Karen jabs a manicured finger at me, voice pitching up. His house is an eyesore. We've warned him repeatedly, letters, visits, everything. I cut in, handing Martinez my phone. Still recording. Check this out, deputy. Night before last, she and some punk tried to paint my wall themselves. Caught it all on cam. He takes the phone, watches the footage with a stone face. Karen's flashlight bobs, paint splashes across my grass, and her shrill, "Quiet, you moron!" crackles through the speaker, followed by Hoodie's stumble and her string of curses. The crowd's growing now. Jenkins leaning on his fence, a lady across the street with her phone out, a couple kids on bikes, gaping. Martinez finishes, hands the phone back, and looks at Karen. "You hired these clowns too?" Her mouth opens, then snaps shut, lipstick smearing as she bites her lip. I didn't know they'd—" "Save it," Martinez says, voice flat as pavement. He turns to Hayes and Lyle, impersonating officials, trespassing. "You're coming with me." He pulls cuffs off his belt and Hayes growls, stepping back. "This is bullshit," Hayes snaps. "We were just—" "Cuff 'em," Martinez says to his partner, a younger deputy who's been hanging back. They slap the bracelets on, Hayes swearing under his breath, Lyle whining like a kicked puppy. Martinez looks at Karen, eyes narrowing. "You want to join them? Conspiracy's a hell of a charge." She freezes, sunglasses slipping further, hands clutching her purse. "This is outrageous. He's the problem here." "Nah ha," I say, grinning wide as I pocket my phone. "It's just getting good." Martinez hauls the fake inspectors to the cruiser, slamming the doors as they slump in the back seat. Jenkins gives me a thumbs up from his yard. The lady across the street snaps another pic, probably for the neighborhood Facebook group. Karen's Prius peels out, gravel flying. But I know this isn't over. She's too stubborn to quit, and I'm too pissed to let it slide. I head inside, bacon cold on the counter, and start planning my next move. That video's gold and I've got a lawyer on speed dial. Karen's about to learn she picked the wrong house to mess with. Karen doesn't back down. She doubles down like a gambler chasing a busted flush. A week after her fake inspectors get hauled off, I'm sipping coffee on the porch when the mailman drops a bombshell, a court summons, delivered by a twitchy kid who won't meet my eyes and practically sprints back to his truck. The HOA's suing me, claims I'm a public nuisance, disrupting community harmony, and, my personal favorite, willfully devaluing adjacent properties with my greenhouse. They want a court order to force me to repaint, plus $5,000 in damages for their pain and suffering. I read it over breakfast, laughing so hard I choke on my toast and have to pound my chest to breathe again. They're really trying to steal my freedom through a judge. Some ballsy, desperate Hail Mary. Fine by me. If it's a fight they want, I'm ready to throw punches. I call my lawyer Pete, a grizzled bulldog who's been tearing up property disputes since Reagan was dodging scandals. He swings by that afternoon, plops down on my porch with a Coors Light from my fridge, and skims the complaint while I grill him some burgers. "This is a gold mine, James," he says, chuckling through a mouthful of bun. "They've got no legs to stand on, legally, morally, or otherwise." "Figured," I say, flipping a patty. "What's our play?" He grins, all teeth and tobacco stains. We countersue the hell out of him. Harassment, trespassing, frivolous lawsuit, maybe throw in emotional distress for kicks. They'll regret this. "Love it," I say, sliding him a burger. "Let's bury him." 2 weeks later, we're in court. County courthouse smells like old wood and cheap coffee. Karen's at the plaintiff's table, smug as a cat with a canary, next to a slick attorney in a suit that probably costs more than my truck's worth on a good day. She won't even glance at me, thinks she's already got this in the bag, probably picturing my house slathered in beige by next week. Pete and I stroll in, me in jeans and a faded flannel, him with a beat-up briefcase stuffed with ammo. The Judge Hargrove walks in, stern, silver-haired hair, looks like she's been untangling HOA messes since before I was born. She adjusts her glasses, sighs like she's already over it, and says, "Let's make this quick, folks." Karen's lawyer stands all polished and pompous, smoothing his tie. "Your Honor, the Pinewood HOA is dedicated to upholding a pristine, cohesive community. Mr. Daniel's garish greenhouse undermines that effort, causing distress and financial harm to our residents. We've received numerous complaints. His refusal to comply is a blatant disregard for neighborhood standards." Hargrove tilts her head, peering over her glasses. Does Mr. Daniels live in your HOA? Karen leans forward, voice tight as a drum. His property falls within our expanded oversight zone, Your Honor, a decision voted on by the board last quarter. I slide my deed across to Pete, who hands it over with a smirk. Here's my title, Your Honor, I say. No HOA, no covenants. Private land. Free and clear for a decade. Hargrove scans it, flips a page, nods, slow. Karen's lawyer coughs, adjusting his cufflinks. That may be true, Your Honor, but the HOA voted to extend its aesthetic jurisdiction to ensure... She cuts him off, voice sharp as a razor. You don't get to vote to control someone's private property. That's not how the law works, or common sense for that matter. Karen's face flushes, a red blotch creeping up her neck like a rash. Pete stands, cracking his knuckles. Your Honor, we've got a counterclaim, harassment, trespassing, and a frivolous lawsuit, plus emotional distress, cause this nonsense has been a pain in my client's ass. Hargrove nods, almost smiling. Go ahead. I pull out the heavy artillery, piling it on the table like I'm arming for war. My deed, the county zoning map showing my land's independence clear as day, the security footage of Karen's midnight paint job, a stack of pics showing the ruined grass and sloppy white streak, and Martinez's report on the fake inspectors, complete with their mug shots from booking. Pete walks the judge through it, calm and ruthless, like he's dissecting a fish. The courtroom projector hums to life as the video plays. Karen's flashlight bobbing like a firefly, paint splashing across my lawn, her shrill, "Quiet, you moron!" echoing off the walls, followed by Hoodie's stumble and her string of curses that make a trucker blush. A few spectators snicker. Jenkins, in the back row with a thermos of coffee, lets out a loud guffaw that earns him a glare from the bailiff. Hargrove rubs her temples when it's done, like she's fighting a migraine. Mrs. Whitlock, she says, voice dripping exhaustion. This is the dumbest case I've seen in 20 years on this bench. Karen sputters, hands clutching the table. Your Honor, he's been hostile, defiant. Enough, Hargrove snaps, slamming a hand on her desk. You've got no claim over his land, not a shred. No fines, no rules, and sure as hell no right to send fake inspectors or sneak around with paint cans like some half-baked vandal. She turns to me, softening a touch. Mr. Daniels, I'm granting your counterclaim. Harassment, trespassing, emotional distress. HOA pays $10,000 in damages plus all legal fees. Mrs. Whitlock, you're personally fined $2,000 for orchestrating this circus. Consider it a lesson in boundaries. The gavel bangs, loud and final. Karen sits there, stunned, mouth flapping like a fish out of water. Her lawyer edges away, loosening his tie like it's choking him, clearly regretting taking this gig. HOA folks in the gallery, half a dozen of them in khakis and polo shirts, whisper furiously, shooting her death glares like she just tanked their property values single-handedly. Pete slaps my back, grinning ear to ear. I button my flannel, nod at him, and head for the door. Victory sweet, tastes like justice with a side of bacon, but I'm not done yet. Not by a long shot. Karen thought court was rock bottom. Thought she'd slink away, lick her wounds, and call it quits. She was dead wrong. I wasn't just going to pocket the win and go back to my quiet life. I was going to make damn sure she and her HOA cronies felt this burn for years. That $10,000 check, it was itching to be spent. And I had a plan so beautiful it'd make Michelangelo weep. Next day, I hit the hardware store like a man on a mission. Bought 10 gallons of the loudest, most obnoxious lime green paint they had in stock. Think radioactive slime. The kind that glows in the dark and hurts your eyes if you stare too long. I called up a buddy who runs a painting crew, and over the weekend we went to town. House, garage, fence, mailbox, even the damn doghouse I built for a pup I don't own yet. All of it bathed in that eye-searing green. It's so bright you can see it from the highway half a mile away, a neon beacon screaming freedom in a sea of beige conformity. But that was just the appetizer. With the leftover cash, court fees covered by the HOA, naturally, I ordered a custom neon sign from a guy downtown. 6 feet long, blazing green letters that spell out, "My house, my color, deal with it." I had it bolted to the roof, wired to a generator so it glows 24/7, angled right at Pinewood's pristine cul-de-sac like a middle finger made of light. First night it flipped on, the whole street lit up like a lime popsicle melted over their perfect little world. Glorious doesn't even cover it. Karen lost her damn mind. Predictable as sunrise, I'm on my porch Monday morning, sipping coffee and watching the world wake up when her Prius screeches past, slams on the brakes, and doubles back so fast I'm surprised she didn't pop a tire. She storms up to my fence, still in that blazer, sunglasses crooked, hair a mess, fists clenched like she's about to punch through the wood. "Take that thing down," he screams, voice cracking. "It's a hazard. It's blinding us every night." I grin, leaning back in my rocking chair, coffee mug warm in my hands. "Checked with the city, Karen. All legal. Permits, codes, the works. Private property, baby." Shaking now, face red as a tomato. "You're a menace, a selfish, spiteful—" "Nah," I cut in, sipping slow. "Just living my truth. You should try it sometime." She spins around, stomps back to her car and peels out, gravel flying like shrapnel. Jenkins tells me later she called an emergency HOA meeting that night, packed the clubhouse with her loyalists, ranting about lawsuits, light pollution, anything to stop me. But here's the kicker. After the court loss, legal fees, and her personal fine, they're flat broke. Can't afford a lawyer, let alone a fight. The sign stays, glowing like a beacon of sweet, sweet justice every night, bathing their beige kingdom in green defiance. A month later, I'm tinkering in the garage, tuning up the truck with a beer in hand, when I spot it. A for sale sign staked in front of Karen's beige box of a house, 2 doors down from Pinewood's gate. Moving truck pulls up that afternoon and she's out there barking at the movers, barking at her husband, who looks like he's been checked out for years, glancing at my glowing green fortress every 5 seconds like it's haunting her dreams. Boxes pile up, furniture gets hauled out, and I step onto my porch, lean on the railing, and give her a big ol' wave as she climbs into her Prius for the last time. She doesn't wave back, just floors it, tires squealing as she vanishes down the road. Jenkins limps over, snaps a pic of my house with his ancient flip phone, and chuckles. The green lighthouse, he calls it, grinning through missing teeth. Damn straight. My house, my color, my rules.